Welcome to Live From Your Heart. This isn't just a podcast you'll listen to. This is for those moments in your life when you start to realize something's off. Maybe you've spent years doing what was expected, showing up for everyone else, playing the roles, and somewhere along the way, you lost connection with yourself. If that's you, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm going to have real conversations about what it actually looks like to come back to your own heart and start living from that place again, or perhaps for the first time. And if at some point you realize you're ready for more than just listening, I'm going to show you what the next steps look like. So let's get started. Success can be one of the most dangerous things in our lives. Let me say that again. Success can be one of the most dangerous things in your life and in my life. Not because it's wrong, but it hides what is wrong. It hides what's wrong. Hey, this is Les Paul Klein, and you've just jumped into episode 14 of Live From Your Heart, my podcast that I started in January of 26, and we're already into April. Can you believe it? As of today, it's April the 1st. Wow. Time does really fly. So let's think about this success idea for just a minute, because I didn't realize that my success was so dangerous. I thought if I kept building, if I kept producing, if I kept growing and moving forward, that everything would come together. But here's what I saw as I did this in my career. I wasn't building from clarity. Yeah, here and in my heart. I was busy, okay? And the more things I could add to my schedule, the more successful I felt it was. That way I didn't have to feel what the undercurrent was. Yeah. And my heart was not in it. I want to talk about how success can quietly become the biggest distraction in your life. And I've seen this more than once in my lifetime. And boy, do I recognize it now in so many other people and so many other things. So let's start with how we get there. Okay. So you're working, you're producing, you're building a business, you're showing up, you're seen as disciplined, you're driven, you're successful, you're doing all the things that on the outside people look and go, wow, look at that. He's successful. Look at that. She's successful. You're in motion. But on the inside, you never stopped long enough to ask this question. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? My heart's not in it, and I know it. I'm not going to admit that, but why am I doing this? So look at the clarity, okay? What were you telling yourself? What were you telling yourself when you're doing this? This is responsibility. This is what you're supposed to do. This is just how life works. Is that what you were telling yourself? Because that's what I told myself. This is what I'm called to do. Yeah, this is just how it works. Yeah. When I stopped living in that space, I got to tell you, folks, everything changed. But here's what I was avoiding. stillness. I never got still. I never stopped and listened. I never reflected. I never allowed emotions. I never, those questions came in. I didn't want to answer them. Okay. I wasn't off track. I just wasn't noticing long enough. I wasn't still long enough to hear it. You have to pause to hear your heart. And I wouldn't pause until I did. And it wasn't a breakdown, but it was a reality. Yeah, your reality may be different than my reality, but I finally reached a place when I said, I'm never going to make my father happy. Because remember, if you remember my story was I'm doing this for my parents. I'm the one of the preacher boys called. Yeah. But I stood in the middle of that auditorium under construction, and all my dad could do was complain and bitch and moan. Nothing I had done was right. That's the moment I realized I'm not doing this for anybody but him. It got quiet in my heart and in my soul and in my life. And everything I was doing all of a sudden didn't feel very satisfying. And that question didn't go away. And here's what landed. I'm not doing this because it's right. I'm doing it because I don't really want to have to deal with what's underneath this. Yeah. Because it's like, now what do I do? I remember those days. Here's what it cost. This is what it cost me. It cost me presence. It actually ended up costing my family, my connections to all of those people that were in my church. It cost me peace. It cost me emotional clarity. It cost me time, years of time. Success gave me structure, but it didn't give me my own heart. That was the cost. It wasn't my heart. I wasn't doing this from my own heart. So, what can we learn from what I learned? Yeah. We tend to think that avoiding looks like laziness, but it's not, folks. It's overworking, it's building, it's fixing, it's moving, never getting still. That feels productive. But if you don't stop and listen, you're never going to feel anything. And this is the trap of the world. This is the trap of business. This is the trap of career. Okay. You get caught in this behavior, you get validation. You may be making a ton of money. You get respect. You get your name on the door, maybe your name on the building. Okay. You get big write ups. You're popular in your social clubs. You have an identity. Nobody questions your heart. At this point in my life, I'm 66 and a half years old. I can tell you that who I am is not what I did. But in those days, when I was doing all that, that's who I was. And for many of you, that's the way you've lived your entire life. What you did is who you are. You wind down and retire, and now what? I've been in hundreds of RV parks in the last 7 years. I got to tell you, there's some lost men and women out here because now they're not who they were, and they never figured out who that was. Just because it's rewarded doesn't mean it's aligned. Listen to that. Just because it's rewarded doesn't mean it's aligned in your own heart. You reach the end of that and you go, well, wow, now what do I do? Because you've never listened to your own heart. You can be moving fast and you can still be disconnected. Yeah, because that speed of life, it hides the alignment of your heart. You don't pause long enough to notice it. You don't pause long enough. Here's the simple truth of why we stay busy, because stillness tells the truth. We didn't really want this anyway. We don't really like it. Yeah. And when you slow down, you feel what you've been avoiding, you see what's not aligned in your own heart, and no longer you can no longer hide behind the emotion, okay? That's uncomfortable. After ministry, I worked for a company that was grinding it out, sales, grinding it out in the men's clothing business, which I'm still in. But I took a shift and did my own thing. And the reason I did it was for this very reason. Yeah, the grind. What have you done for me today was the big question. Great, we celebrated. Ooh, you got to win. Tomorrow the sun comes up. What have you done for me today? Yeah, the uncomfortableness of pausing to hear, why am I doing this? And when you pause, life will begin to come back into focus. So here's the question of the day. And I want you to sit with this. Where in your life are you staying busy so you don't have to be honest? Where in your life are you staying busy so you don't have to be honest? Not where are you working hard, okay? Where are you using motion to avoid being still? Don't jump in to answer. Pause and listen. Where in your life are you staying busy so you don't have to be honest? And I got to tell you, I still have to watch this in my own life, and I've had to watch it most of my career in the men's clothing business and other entrepreneurial things that I've done. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in movement, to build, to stay in motion. I can tell you, if I don't pause and I don't listen, I lose myself. And it's my exercise of the day, literally. I've run for years. That's been my pause every single day. And if I don't do that, I lose myself. Maybe I could have made more money. So what? I got to tell you, at this point in life, it doesn't really matter. I'm not willing to lose myself anymore because success is not the goal. Listen to me again. Success is not the goal. Alignment is the goal. And sometimes the most powerful things you can do is stop. Just stop. Align your heart and your soul and your mind and let success let it go. I want to lay something in front of you as I close up this podcast. And you've heard me say this before. And if you've heard any of my podcasts, this is not going to be new. But I want you to think about this. People hear things like this, and many of you have been listening to several podcasts, and you go, wow, that's great. Glad that that happened to you. And you notice something, but you do nothing. At some point, you should decide. At some point, you have to decide, or you'll quit listening because I continue to challenge you to do something about this. Are you going to keep listening and doing nothing? Or you're going to actually do something? Let me encourage you to go to the outro starting next week. I'm going to host a weekly podcast or a weekly webinar just to give you the opportunity to take a step forward, come for 30 minutes. 30 minutes won't kill you. 30 minutes on Tuesday. 30 minutes on Tuesday. Take the first step. Let's have a conversation. It'll be a group. You can ask or just listen. But make the first move. Do something about this misalignment that you've had all of your entire life. Because I got to tell you, I never thought I'd see 66. But I'm looking at friends going, wow, you're going to be 82 in 3 months. You're going to be 77 in 6 weeks. You're going to be 87 in less than 2 months. Wow. Time flies, folks. And the older you get, the quicker it goes. Are you going to stay in your muck? Or are you going to live aligned in your own heart for the rest of your life? Whatever that might be. Hit the outro. Hit those show notes. Hit the show notes. Hit that link and register. Come for 30 minutes on Tuesday next week. Hope you have a blessed day. Hey, it's Les Paul at Live From Your Heart. If something in this episode hits you, not just in your head, but deeper than that, then don't just listen and move on. That's what most people do. They feel something real for a moment, and then they go right back to the life that's been slowly pulling them away from who they really are. I don't want that for you. Beginning next week, every Tuesday night, I host a live Zoom. Now, it's not a webinar, and this is not a training. Okay? Neither of those things are true. Well, what are you going to do? We're going to have a real conversation about what it actually looks like to stop living someone else's life and start living from your own heart. If you've been feeling stuck, disconnected, or like something in your life just isn't lining up anymore, you need to be in that room. Come visit. There's a link in the show notes. Click it, save your spot, and come join me this next Tuesday. Because listening is one thing, but at some point you have to decide you're ready for something different.